slump molds to make a slab bowl, and then how to make a turtle or bubble bowl. Today is the day we make them, and then we let them firm up and we refine them. So the first thing you need is the block of clay. If you're doing a slab bowl, which is what we're going to start with, you need your block of clay, and then you need your mold. So this is the hump mold. It is made of plaster. You can use this form. You can also use a bisque-fired bowl, the outside of the bisque-fired bowl, or any form that you can put the clay over, drape it over. If you're using bisque-fired clay or a plaster mold, you don't need to add any paper towel to it or plastic. If you're using a plastic bowl like this one, or a glass bowl, or a glazed ceramic bowl, that requires that you put paper towel on that. And so the way that you do it is you get dry paper towel and a spray bottle of water, and you drape the paper towel over your form. Then you spray it lightly. You might need to adjust the spray. It works much better this way than trying to wet the paper towel and then put it over. The advantage of this is you get less wrinkles, because the wrinkles will show up on the clay. You can smooth them out, but that's more effort. So this is the best way. You want to use the wet paper towel because it folds over the mold better than the dry paper towel. Then you can also tuck it under. So that is if you are going to be doing a hump mold. If you're going to be doing a slump mold, you can look for forms. We don't have many slump mold forms. This one is wide enough to use. You can also use this form as a slump mold. This is glazed ceramic, so it requires wet paper towel on that. Don't try to use the bisque bowl as your slump mold because it's too hard to put in that narrow of an opening. So you will choose your mold first for your piece, and then you need to roll out the clay. So if you were to cut the clay off the top of this, it would not be wide enough to make your bowl form. So when you're doing this, you will need to cut the clay like we did for the luminaries or lanterns. So you'll peel the bag back, take off the clay, measure a finger down. The trick is to kind of guide with your fingers so you don't get an uneven cut, and then pull straight towards you. You don't want it thicker than your hand, so make sure you're not doing a really thick one. They don't need to be as big because these are smaller than the luminaries. Take that off. Make sure you cover the clay back up. And then it's very important that you pay attention to how you roll the slab in the slab roller. Again, a lot of students will be using the slab roller at once, so take your time, be patient, and switch out or flip the slab mats. Okay, when you put it in the slab roller, you will not put it in the long way this time like we did for the lantern. I call that hot dog. Rather, you're going to put it in the wide way, which is hamburgers, so this way, into the slab roller. Normally you'd be at the very end. I'm going to roll it up a little closer to you. So it goes on the slab mat and then here. So if these start to get wet, either flip them over or switch them out. Then you put the blanket on, and then you will roll the slab. This way it'll be wide enough to make your circle for your bowl form. You don't need to go all the way to the end, and definitely stop at that orange line, because if you go past that, that's bad for the wires, the cables that actually move the wheel. You'll peel this back, and now you have a very good slab that will fit your form. So if you were to take and just trace this bowl on here, it would not be big enough. But if you want to try to find a form, the best thing to use is like a paper plate so that you can cut the circle out. Don't cut that out right out of the middle. Cut it off towards the side so you can use that excess clay if you need it and not waste it. So you don't have to use a paper plate, you can kind of freeform it, but it's very helpful to have that. Obviously, If you're doing a square bowl or one of these forms, you would cut that differently. So I like to have something to trace. Remember, after you trace it, if you cut towards the edge, it's easier to cut. And then make sure you're putting all of this excess clay in plastic. Okay, so it doesn't sit out and dry. This clay would work very, very well for a foot ring or something later. Okay, now that I've got the circular form, I need to form it over my hump mold, or you can put it in your slump mold. Okay, so what I'll do, if the clay is really moist, we got fresh clay in, you can get a slab mat to work on. So for the hump mold, you put it over the top and gently coax it down. Now, one thing you could do is you could do a free-form wave bowl. So for this method, you just put it down a bit and you leave the wave forms like this, and then you'd smooth the edges later. If you want a more traditional bowl, you're going to press it down all the way around the form like this. Now I have excess clay here, so in order to trim that, the best thing to do is to get a banding wheel and put it on top to spin that, because you can spin it while you trim it.